Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Crypto Tips. My name is Toby.
And my name is Heidi.
And before we begin, I want to give you this bit of news. Citibank, the fourth biggest bank in the US, is considering launching crypto trading and custody services. So everybody is hopping on board, and this is why I think we could potentially be in a super cycle. It's leaning towards that way. What do you think?
I mean, sure, I know a lot of people are, this is ultra bullish and all that, but just remember, you could have bought Bitcoin way before these banks ever, allowed it.
I think a lot of people did on our channel.
Yeah.
We are all smarter than these banks.
That's just my gut reaction when people are like, oh, it's so cool, banks are adopting crypto. Like, you know what's even cooler is you could have bought it without the bank, and that's the whole purpose of it. But anyway, that's just me. So this is the third edition of our AMA for the week. This one was a little bit delayed. Apologies. If you want to submit questions for our AMA sessions, you got to join our Patreon group in the CT Club. A link for that is down below in the video descriptions. We sent out the ability for you to submit your questions every Saturday. So that's tomorrow, guys.
Yep. So with that said, I put out a couple of trade alerts on our Patreon. So if you haven't signed up for that, check them out. Also, part of my trades today were, I see a lot of attention being placed on Dogecoin, right? And so I really enjoy that because every other coin kind of gets put on the back burner, and you can pick up some really good deals. Like there's some great deals right now.
Yeah.
So
talking about bullish coins and the potential and how this space has been growing, an interesting fun fact is that the Ethereum market cap right now is larger than Bitcoin's market cap at the peak of the 2017 bull run.
Yeah.
So there.
That's great. And I expect these occurrences to happen more often. For instance, they're not just Ethereum, other coins will be just as equal to the market cap of Bitcoin back in 2017 as well.
In the years to come, yeah.
Oh yeah, and on this run as well, I think, before this cycle ends, for sure. So yeah, I think we got a little bit more to go on this bull run. Especially if it's a super cycle, then man, it can go anywhere.
Yeah. But it definitely speaks to, the growth that the space has seen. And, we're always saying, oh, it's so early still, it's such a small market. The fact that it's, this kind of growth is being seen from just a couple of years, it shows there's plenty more to go.
Yeah.
Okay, first question.
Okay.
This one for Toby.
Okay.
Or for anyone.
Sure.
Layer 2 solutions in the foreseeable future is going to be really important. MATIC has done tremendously well. Do you think it will keep performing well for 2 to 3 years? Because even when Ethereum does roll out better scaling, perhaps Ethereum will have even more usage. We're still so early in crypto and don't really have that much usage yet. On the other end, how do you see Layer 2 staying relevant if interoperability between chains will kick off and be successful?
Well, MATIC, who knows what's going to happen in the next 2 to 3 years? I could have not even guessed.
Who could have predicted DeFi in 2018?
Dogecoin would have been in the top 5 or whatever.
Yeah.
So guys, I don't know what's going to happen in the next 2 to 3 years. What I do know is that Ethereum's going to probably be around. Guaranteed is Bitcoin's going to be around. And so, yeah, in the next 2 years, potentially, who knows if it's even going to be longer, ETH 2.0 will come out. But I think a lot of these networks are going to, just because Layer 2 comes out ETH 2.0 comes out on Ethereum, doesn't mean they're not going to have any problems. And these projects have come out and solved a lot of issues that ETH was struggling with. And so there's going to be other issues as well. And I think, if these projects have the minds behind them that can figure out how to, solve scaling issues like MATIC has been doing, I think they could be an incredible asset to this community, and I don't see how or why it would go away. Especially, they've proven themselves. They have plenty of liquidity. A lot of money is being thrown into MATIC right now, and rightfully so, because they are solving these scaling issues, and it's making things cheaper, less expensive, and way faster. And so are like parachains like DOT. Like instead of having just one line of code for each transaction, they have many transactions on one line, and that's like really important for this community because it speeds things up. So that's what you need, is like to be a real world asset, you need things to be sped up really fast so the masses can use it. And I think that's where we're headed. And we're heading there really fast because we have an open source community. And that's really great.
So, but this whole concept of like, if Ethereum rolls out ETH 2.0, there's going to be no point of second layer solutions. But you had an excellent point. It's like there's always going to be probably something that someone else can address. And also he said something about, how do you see layer 2 staying relevant if interoperability between chains will kick off and be successful? I don't think those are two different things. Like layer 2 solutions isn't just for like faster, cheaper transactions. It's a way to interact with a blockchain and apply other functionality that it wasn't maybe able to do at that base layer. Like for example, privacy or interoperability. These can both each be second layer solutions. It's not just particularly for transactional speed and cost. So it's definitely not, it's what we're always saying is crypto isn't a zero-sum game. There's ways different people approach problems from different directions, and they come up with really creative solutions. So it's really cool.
Like, some of the most creative things that I've seen is like governance structures. Oops, sorry. Like how these projects can govern themselves so that one side is not taking advantage of the market, and it's just keeping people, reliable and trustful, and it rewards people for that, instead of having a police going around and making sure everybody's obeying themselves, or obeying the laws or whatever.
It's like in everyone's best interest to serve the best interest of the network, because that's what we are participating in.
Yeah, so it's really cool. So I think it can definitely change the way businesses work around the world, even that don't have anything to do with crypto. They can use these governance structures as well. So like I said, we have the smartest minds in the world working on this stuff, and it blows my mind every time I read about like new governance structures. Those things fascinate me, because it's just like you can see where the world's headed is non-policing.
Just using game theory to achieve consensus without this underlying threat of violence is amazing.
It is. It's really
cool. It should be more talked about.
It's really cool. It's not talked about very much.
No, everyone just wants to make some money. Anyway.
Next one.
There's other cool things happening too. Next question. What's your opinion of mass media personalities like Bill Mayer spreading FUD to the normies about crypto? Is there an agenda behind it, like institutions trying to drive people away as they buy more?
Well, that's a really good point that you bring up. So yeah, I think it's these institutions are trying to push people away from crypto, because if you look at like the news, like mainstream news, say CNBC, BBC, they're not really talking too much about Bitcoin. Occasionally they do, like they talked about Ethereum a couple days ago reaching $3,000. But like the mania that I saw back in 2017-18, like we have nothing like that now for mainstream news, and so that makes it early.
It's kind of like Dogecoin is the Bitcoin of 2017.
Yeah, exactly. Dogecoin is becoming the Bitcoin of 2017.
There's a ton of mania about Dogecoin.
Hey, if you're in Dogecoin, you're killing it. Hey, congratulations. That's awesome. There's a lot of other coins as well that are doing great as well.
Hopefully you know how to take profits when to take profits.
But going back to this, there is an agenda behind it. Obviously, these banks, central banks, and governments own these media corporations. That's why they call them mainstream media. They're state-run propaganda outlets. And so with that said, that's what you're going to get. So you're going to get, when it's the top of the market, you'll probably see them all touting, oh my gosh, here we go. Yeah. I think this is going to go huge and this is going to be big. Every single day you'll see something on crypto. Yeah. And that's when you're like, all right, that's pretty much the end. So they're trying to suck in as many suckers as possible. and then crash the market,
Yeah.
and then start back over again. But I don't think it's going to crash as much as 80% or whatever. I really don't think so, unless we hit absurd prices into the hundreds and hundreds of thousands.
There's whatever mainstream media is talking about crypto, there is an agenda behind it, whether it is trying to suppress the price or direct the narrative of it's like a scam or whatever for their benefit so they can accumulate, or because it's actively disrupting the systems that they have benefited from at the detriment of the users, like the other citizens, for decades, hundreds of years.
Well, like Charlie Munger.
No, the
guy owns banks pretty much. I mean, he's invested huge stakes in banks.
The agenda is there, and it's never for the benefit of you, the viewer. Next question. Hi, I am curious to know your opinion on investing in crypto companies' equity in addition to tokens themselves. The idea was that builders do better during bear markets.
I don't touch stocks because I don't touch any investment that I can't, that doesn't trade 24/7 anymore. That's unacceptable.
It's kind of like moving backward for something that has, if they have a token already, why would you, go backward?
Yeah, exactly. It's like kind of going back to trading seashells. Like, why would you want to do that when you have something that trades 24/7? And I can send, instead of like, imagine if you had Apple stock. I can't send that to my mom, overseas.
Yeah.
Without like
you can't load it onto
crazy amounts of.
You can't load it onto a crypto debit card and spend it.
Exactly. Whereas I can send any coin to anyone on Earth, pretty much.
Yeah.
So like, why would I even waste my time with these stupid stocks? They're dinosaurs.
Yeah. And why would maybe just to like double up on your exposure on that particular company.
No, because you won't even own your private keys. You're not going to own your private stock certificate, which they can duplicate as many times as they want.
Yeah.
Like, they don't tell you that one.
Next question. Do you guys each have your own portfolio? Sometimes you say I in the stream. Sometimes you say we. If not, how do you agree on what trades to make? Arm wrestle?
Yeah, I pretty much. We come to an agreement. So every trade we do.
Well, first of all, we share our portfolio.
Yeah.
We're married. A lot of people ask that for some reason. We're married, and so our investments are together. We definitely play different roles in how we interact with cryptos. Toby is amazing at organizing the portfolio, making the trade alerts. If you guys are in our Patreon group, you know that obviously as well. We talk to each other we come to a consensus about what trades to do. Definitely, we get each other's input, but... and
sometimes we don't agree on something, and sometimes Heidi will present something that I didn't see, and I'm going to be like, oh, that's a really good idea.
And Toby takes risks that maybe I wouldn't necessarily do, but they have paid off in the past, so definitely learning to trust each other.
It's harder sometimes. It's like, come on. Sometimes I really want to do a risky trade, and it's like got zero liquidity or whatever. I have to like slowly get into the coin because like it's just gonna bounce it either way.
Don't fat finger it.
Yeah, and it's just like really like sometimes I'll take the staking rewards that I get and just be like, all right, it's free money. I'm just gonna put it to use, and not very much, like $50 or something like that, and I'll give it a go on something crazy. Yeah. And sometimes it works. I'd say it works about 70% of the time, whereas I pick a super risky coin and I go for it, which is perfect because the reason why I would ever get into a really risky coin is because the upside is crazy. And like the downside is like, okay, I lost $50,
Exactly.
And I didn't even it was a staking reward. So it's like, all right, cool, I'll take it from there, give it a go. And if it works out 70% of the time, sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
99% of the time, it works out 70% of the time.
Exactly.
Anyway, it's interesting. Definitely, investing and interacting with crypto as a couple is interesting, and it's definitely it's tested a lot.
But
so
it's
good.
But it's good because if you don't have somebody looking out for you as well, because I'm only human, I'll do mistakes, and like it's good to have somebody else. Like sometimes I'm like, hey, is this correct? Can you read it over just for my sake, even though I'm reading the same thing as you are? Maybe I'm missing something, and it's good. It's really healthy to have something like that, and that's why we're able to actually set up a successful Patreon group where it's like it's wonderful, and it's created great amounts of wealth for everybody that's pretty much following us. So it's good.
So if your significant other isn't into crypto yet, get them into crypto. It's fun.
So let's go to the next one.
What's the best practice of cashing out larger amounts to a fiat account?
Dollar cost averaging out.
Yeah,
I would say.
for sure. The fact of the matter is, these are the hurdles for cashing out huge amounts of fiat in like a single transaction. Is number one, KYC, AML. You're going to have to go through probably, depending on the amount of money you're dealing with, the amount of information, and also the country that you're cashing out into. You're going to have to fork over a bunch more information, like your source of funds, and all of that stuff, like the history of your money, which might be a headache. That's one is pretty universal, unless you're using a decentralized exchange, which in that, like for example, BISC. But your hurdle there is going to be volume. You're going to have to do multiple transactions to get it out. You could also do things like over-the-counter trades. There's like I know Kraken uses or services over-the-counter trades for huge amounts of money with a lot of different cryptocurrencies as well. But that's obviously hand in hand with the KYC thing happening. So maybe figure out a way to leverage your crypto position rather than cashing out into fiat. And, you can take out a loan or use it as collateral, for example. That could be
just be careful, I mean, take your time, because if the exchange you're on does not have a lot of liquidity, your price impact for selling something could crater the price. So you have to be really careful. Like I've done it once or twice where
tiny cap coins.
I've accidentally plummeted the price like 40%. I'll admit that. And everyone has.
There's a lot of people who have done that.
Yeah, exactly. Like the best guys in the world are doing this, have done the same mistake. So don't let them tell you otherwise. So that's just, carelessness, because you're doing so many trades. You're like, oh my gosh, what have I done? I just crashed the price and I'm a total, I just, fat fingered it. So just be really careful with, your price impact. That's really important. I would say that's one of your most important things that you need to look at.
Yeah. Okay. Next up, can you share how you check and manage 60 plus cryptos, especially during a volatile uptrending bull market?
I look at the total market cap, and I look at the Bitcoin ETH ratio, as well as the Bitcoin ratio, depending on I look at the percentage of it. So if the percentage of Bitcoin is going down compared to the total market cap,
also known as the Bitcoin dominance.
Yeah, right? Bitcoin dominance. So like if the Bitcoin dominance is falling, then that's really great for alts. And the alts that I'm getting into, I'm betting that they're going to do really well with a downward, Bitcoin dominance. Yeah. And so with that said, I don't need to stare at every single coin. I'm going to win most of the time. Obviously, I'm going to win most of the time, as you guys know.
For whoever asked this, I didn't take note of the names.
Yeah.
If you're a Patreon member, you've seen our portfolio updates, you've seen the list of cryptos that we have. It is a decent chunk. Most of those are very small percentages of our portfolio because they're so risky. You should know that we don't day trade. We don't micromanage our portfolio, like trying to perfectly find the top of all these alts and like these kind of minor price movements that can happen. If that were the case, absolutely, we would definitely not be holding as many coins as we were if that was our strategy. We found that you can be extremely successful without having to kind of micromanage your portfolio if you're just following the general trend of the market, like we are in a bull market. It's the general trend. Of course, Bitcoin is going to kind of lead the way, and then alts will follow. And you can see profits very easily. You don't have to perfectly time each one. You can see like, okay, now the alts are popping. We'll take some profit and have fun.
So I pay attention to my top 5 or 6 alts.
Yeah.
Like I pay really close attention to that. And like for instance, when I had my ETH call not too long ago, before it hit 3,000, I think it was like a week ago or something like that. I'm like, I see something that's going to happen. I'm like good at what do you call
Pattern recognition.
I'm good at pattern recognition, and that's just one of the things I've been gifted with. So I'm able to see this without studying and like staring at charts all the time. I can see what's going to happen compared to the rest of the market, because I'm looking at it all the time, and boom, ends up happening. It's pretty nuts. So I wasn't surprised at all with ETH going over 3,000. I was like, okay, any time now, but I'm not going to say that because, I don't want to jinx it. But I did call it right. I said, hey, let's get into ETH right before it happened.
Yeah. But yeah, that's very true. Obviously, the more invested we are in a coin in pertaining to its allocation within our portfolio, we pay much more attention to those rather than like these crazy alts that we're in. All right, last question. A lot of talk about Bitcoin dominance. Yeah, just now. And if it goes up, altcoins will bleed. What's your thoughts on this in regards to alt season and so-called face melting returns?
Yeah, that is true. Like when you have Bitcoin skyrocketing, like we had a face melt move back in 2017, 18. And, alts kind of got punished because all that money flowed out of alts into Bitcoin. And that's when you want to be in Bitcoin. So, I think these things go in waves, like it's alts and then it's Bitcoin and it's sometimes it's both. So it's really hard to tell what's going to happen. But like right now, as you see, Bitcoin is dropping and alts are doing fantastic. So, it comes in waves. But when it's on face melt mode, you want to be in Bitcoin, and you probably don't want to be in too many alts. I'm going to stick with ETH, but that's just me. The rest,
Yeah. And also, just because this dominance is moving from Bitcoin to the alts doesn't necessarily mean that people are choosing to invest in Bitcoin either. You have to remember that most of these alts, if you want to cash out and get into a stable coin or get into fiat, most of the time you have to go back through Bitcoin. So it's also an indication of the overall sentiment of the market as well, if people are exiting crypto or not. So it's interesting. It's interesting.
Yep.
Okay, that's it for today's AMA. Thank you so much for everyone for submitting your questions. I hope that these have been helpful. You guys seem to like them. And
I'm really looking forward to doing the live streams again.
We miss the live, guys.
We do. So
we might try to do it like on my phone, but it's going to be bad connection.
Yeah, it's going to be.
And I don't know that I can read your guys' comments while I'm on my phone, but
you need a bigger phone.
Maybe we can try it. Maybe we'll try it. Anyway, thank you everyone for tuning in to today's video. If you enjoyed this, go ahead and leave a like and hit subscribe if you haven't yet to get more videos like this.
Stay very disobedient, guys, because there's nothing else that's going to save us other than your disobedience.
Save yourself, guys.
Exactly. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.